Alrighty, here we go. G'day everyone and welcome back to Rolling Conversations. It's Tuesday afternoon and so we know where we want to be at 5 o'clock on a Tuesday afternoon, and it's right here on this great series that we've enjoyed called Rolling Conversations, keeping us connected until we're rolling again. And look at these stars that we've got on tonight. The dynamic duo from Sydney 2000 Paralympics. You know who we're talking about, Danny. Don't worry about that. Welcome to Rolling Conversations, Branka, Pupovac and Danni Toro. Great to see you guys.
Hi.
G'day everyone. It's awesome to be here, and it's so great to see Branks. Like, how bloody legendary. This is so great. Thanks for organising it, Mick.
No, yeah, it's great to have you guys on. Yeah, so we've met each of you individually, of course, at Wheelchair Sports New South Wales, but wonderful to have the two of you together. And we will talk about your time together as a doubles combo, and I'm going to ask you to dish the dirt on each other, of course, about each other in their tennis styles and all the rest of it. We'll get to that. But before we do, for those in our community who may not know your story, we'd love to start with how you came to wheelchair tennis and your involvement in the sport and who got you involved. As we know at Wheelchair Sports New South Wales, most people have, you know, someone special that introduces us to the community or wraps an arm around them and says, come and try. Can we start with you, Branka? How did you get involved in wheelchair tennis for the first time?
Well, I had an accident in 1993 and I was about to complete my commerce degree at uni. So it was 2 weeks before my final exam and 3 days before my 21st. And I was away with a group of friends and I happened to jump on a motorbike, as you do when you're young and silly and don't think. And we crashed, and then I ended up in hospital for a long time. So part of my rehab involved going out and trying different sports. So the wonderful Craig Jarvis took me out to wheelchair basketball and taught me how to do a wheel stand and go down gutters and so forth. And he also took me out to wheelchair tennis on a Tuesday evening because there was a group of people that used to play over at Cumberland College. So that's how I kind of saw wheelchair tennis for the first time and experienced it. And I'll never forget the first time I was in a chair and I was on court and I'm like, this will be okay. I've kind of hit a ball before. And then the ball went over and I was like, oh my God, there's just no way I'll ever be able to hit a ball. But it was still just so wonderful being with other people on the court. And yeah, so that's how I got introduced to it.
Very cool. Isn't it amazing? We've just had Craig Jarvis step down from our board after 28 years of service. And there are so many people, you know, who play such a huge role in other people's lives. So great to hear just another person, Branka, in yourself, who's been touched by Craig's work over that length of time.
Oh, absolutely. Such an exceptional human being. And I think it's just so incredible that he has been passionate and giving for so many years, because some people give for a few years, and I now do peer support, and I've seen him in the last few years over at Prince of Wales in the rehab unit, and he's still giving so much. It's, beautiful person.
Yeah, well, we're lucky to have. We're not letting him go anywhere anyway. He's going to stay around our community for a long, long time. Thanks, Branka. Danni, how about you? How did you first find yourself in a wheelchair tennis chair, hitting the ball around and being the champion that we know you became?
Oh, I came to it a little differently in a way. I mean, I was playing a lot of tennis standing up before my accident. I just played my first state level tournament probably 2 weeks before my accident when I was 13 years old. Had a brick wall fall on top of me and spent a bit of time in hospital. I was really super fortunate to have Sandy Blythe, who was the captain of the Rollers at the time, the men's wheelchair basketball team. He was our rec officer there, and just having him in my world in the really early days was just a revelation. Like, I'd never met anyone in a wheelchair. I didn't really know anyone with a disability. I lived out in the burbs where I just never had any kind of exposure. So when I met a guy like Sandy and then further on lots of other great people with who were living with various impairments, it just opened my eyes to so many possibilities. And it was actually during so they found out that I'd played tennis before my accident, and so Greg Crump, actually, who went on to coach both Branka and I at World Team Cups and Paralympic Games. He came out with Oz Tennis, which was kind of a charity at the time, and came out to the hospital out in at the Austin Hospital and hit some balls. My first hit was with I had my brace, so like this full like neck into pelvis brace, and I just remember thinking, this is actually the worst. Like this is not going to happen for me. But I was a serve and volleyer as well. Like, you know, I loved Stefan Edberg and I loved Martina Navratilova, and that was my style. And so Greg knew that, and he just put me at the net, and I just volleyed, and I felt like, okay, this might work. It took about 4 months until I went and played a tournament, but leading up to that, I just had really good people around me. Really, really lucky.
Yeah, cool. Hey, we've got a message there from Louise Savage. Hi, Branka. So good to see your face. Danny, woo, you're the bestest.
Second,
very
third,
cool message.
Maybe.
We love you, Louise. You're the best too.
Yeah. We had Louise out with our junior wheelies. We've just had our school holidays camp yesterday and today, and Lou was out there racing around with them all in bull rush and doing all the different sports with them yesterday. So, you know, as fast as ever, I must say. Wow. Louise Savage. So, g'day, Lou, and thanks for watching on. I'm just interested, before we talk about you guys as a duo there, was there any other sport that you might have chosen? I mean, Branka, you said you played a little bit of wheelchair basketball to begin with. I know that you had a history in tennis, and therefore perhaps wheelchair tennis was your go. But Branka, did you consider another sport, or did you play some more sports?
No. I used to, I played lots of sports when I was growing up, but I kind of preferred tennis the most, and I played tennis the most when I was growing up as well. So that's the one that I was most passionate about. And plus, you don't get collided into like you do in basketball.
Right,
not quite as dangerous.
And that's it, isn't it?
You're a little bit fragile. You're a little bit fragile when you're like in that hospital chair, or you're not in your hospital chair when they put you on court the first time. But even so, it's a little bit daunting. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I love and I love tennis because I love being outdoors as well, and I like the fresh air, and something great about tennis.
But tell us how you met then. You went on to become a doubles partnership. But Danny, do you remember meeting Branka? Whereabouts did you guys cross paths originally?
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it was at White City actually when we
played.
At White City, and it's just so exciting. You know, I played basketball as well for a while, and there was a time where I actually went to my first international comp playing tennis and basketball, and I was like one of the few women playing wheelchair tennis. Randa Hinson was out there as well, but we didn't have many. And so when you see someone who, you know, clearly is awesome, clearly has a future in a sport, and is just a legend, you just like are so excited to kind of meet other people. And that was definitely that encounter with Branka. And I was a bit younger too. You know, I feel like I've kind of grown up with all of these incredible women who are a bit older than me that I could look up to as people just doing awesome stuff. And it was a really exciting thing to have Branka, and then to be able to go on to do some really awesome things that have not been done before, actually. And at this, you know, it's taken a really long time for some of those records to tumble. But yeah, we've had a really great career together as well.
Yeah, cool.
And even though I may have been older than you, Danny, when I met you, you were just such a beautiful tennis player. You're strong and ferocious and kind, like all of it. And I just remember being in awe of you when I would watch you play. So I have felt very lucky and blessed that I got to play with you, and you were such an exceptional, you know, world champion, really.
Thanks,
and tell us about stylistically then, could you describe for us what style of tennis player you are really, and then why the combo works so successfully? You know, are you different styles? Are you complementary? Branka, starting with you, perhaps, what sort of, how would you describe your style, and why does your style work with Danny?
Okay, basically, whoever we played, I knew that I would get pounded because Danny was by far the better player. So I had to be prepared. And like Danny said, she would play the net and I would stay back. So then I just had to be strong and cover the back court, and basically try and set it up for Danny as well as I could, and just be as consistent as possible, so that she could, you know, do her magic, which she
And what were your skills then, Branka, around the court? Well, in fact, I might even ask you, Danny, to describe, Branka as a player and what appealed to you in her as your partner.
Look, I think a little bit, wheelchair tennis, when I came into it, I was a server and volleyer, and the first thing I got told was that people in wheelchairs don't volley, which I just thought was ridiculous and boring. And so my style was pretty aggressive in that way. But I never really saw too many actual doubles partners play doubles. It was just two singles players out there playing singles. And I think one of the great things that Greg did do was have that really great conversation with Branka and I early on, and really working to both of our strengths. And Branka was just the brick wall. Branka set it all up, and that was what was really important, is both of us being able to work to those strengths and creating those opportunities. And she was a total brick wall, and no one got past her. And she made me look good every day, which was really grateful for that. But we worked hard on it, like we spent a lot of time on it. And we beat the best in the world doing that. That New York out at the World Team Cup, where it was the first time that the Dutch team, who had like 4 of the top 5 women in that team, and just the 2 of us, we kind of ripped through everyone. And we did it with a solid game, but we did it with a game of doubles as I know it to be played. And it was, for me, it's still my favourite thing to think about as a wheelchair tennis player.
Yeah.
Right. Branka, you must remember that, no, too?
No.
Yes, we were. Well, I just remember being. Well, we were both in Europe at that stage, and then we flew over, like doing the European circuit, and then we flew over to New York, and we're all so excited to be in New York, because that was kind of the first time that so many of us would be in New York, and I guess we went into it. Well, I went into it with kind of, I mean, you try your best, but we know how strong the Dutch are, and to have thought that, we could beat them I'd never ever thought that would be possible. But Danni's just such an extraordinary player, and she's just so motivational and encouraging. And there are so many times like, even in the first match, she'd be like, I think we can win this, with her little words, and she's kind of planting the seeds. And then we win the first match and the first round, and then we win the second round. But it was quite interesting because, and then we got into the final, and we only had one coach. So whereas the Dutch had like about 10 coaches, hopefully they won't watch this. And then we're on this back court, and it's just Danni and I. We don't have a coach, and we're just kind of hitting up. And do you remember that, Danni? It was just quite extraordinary. And then came to the final. I lost my singles, so the pressure was on Danni to win her singles, and she did that. And then we went out and played the doubles, and God, I think we gave it all, didn't we?
We did. So Esther Vergier and Micah Smith were like #1 doubles team in the world at the time, and just like third set, tie-break, third set. But I just, I felt like we had that, and we had a lot of faith in each other and supported each other all the way through that. It was pretty extraordinary. Come back to the when we came back for the awards night, it was just like you felt like the whole community were excited for us. Like it was a big feat, and it was understood, So when we kind of entered like that night, it was just like standing ovations, and I've never seen anything like that since. And that was a real support of us, but also a real acknowledgement of what we just achieved, and that was a pretty special day.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah. Hey, just before we came on air, you guys were talking about a fella called Mick McConnell. Now, for those of us who might not know Mick's story, you both spoke with such affection about him and the role that he played. Can you give us a sense about who Mick was? And for those of us, and welcome to everyone watching online. In fact, we had a message from Tina McKenzie, who said, "Great to see you both there." But can you give us a sense about what's Mick McConnell's story, and why is he so important in your careers?
Well, Mick McConnell was playing was like when I met. Excuse me, I'll start again. Mick McConnell was my coach at Moorong, which was where the old rehab centre was, and he was my coach, and he was just an exceptional coach. He was so dedicated and so precise, and just knew how to relate to you, knew how to kind of build your confidence. And just such a beautiful human being. So he was my coach for a while, but then unfortunately he went back to Holland with his wife the year before the Paralympics in 2000, which was kind of very unfortunate. I was very sad about that because it was very hard to find a coach as good as Mick. Yeah.
And Danny, what were your interactions with Mick?
Oh man, like for me, Mick was like the Stefan Edberg of wheelchair tennis for me. Like he even looked a bit like him too, which is back in the day. I'm not sure how he's comparing these days, Mick, but
he still looks great. I can
he's
tell
still
you, I see him. Yeah,
very handsome man
him
for sure.
rehab. He's great.
Yeah, I mean, so I entered like the wheelchair tennis scene when I was 13, and Mick was in the top 3 in the world at the time, and that's extraordinary. He's got a pretty high level disability, and he was playing against guys with a lot more mobility, and he got there by playing exquisite tennis. Actually, I've never seen a backhand quite like his. I know Dave's got a good one, but you talk about talking to David Hall, but honestly, like if it wasn't for someone like a Mick McConnell, Dave and I would never have had anyone to aspire to or learn from. So when we were kind of traveling overseas, it was Mick that was really introducing us to what this world could look like. And certainly for Dave, he had an incredible person and mentor, but also, fellow athlete to be able to kind of work with and work against and just build his craft too. So, for both of us and for, I think, wheelchair tennis in this country, we owe Mick quite a lot. And I know I do. And, always valued everything he ever said. He was always really measured in his approach, and his professionalism was extraordinary. And he just kept playing. Like, he still has the best backhand I've ever seen.
And still is competitive. Like, like 10, 20 years after retirement, he'll get out there and he's as passionate to win as he ever was. Yeah.
We were
like
lucky.
You said, Danny, just measured, very, very calm, and and he instilled that calmness in you too.
Kind of. I mean, I'm a total Italian blood running through my veins, so it's not so easy. Like broken records, but he tried.
But whether
he gave it a good crack.
It was nice to feel it for a moment, because I'm Serbian too, so I've got similar blood to you, Danny.
You just got to work with your strengths, don't you?
Indeed. Hey, we've got Sarah Stewart. Hey, Danny and Branka, both incredible in giving people. What has success in sport allowed you to do outside of sport that you're really passionate about and grateful to be able to do now? Branka, we might start with you. And g'day, Sarah, and thanks for your question.
Okay. So what has enabled me to do? Well, I completed my grad dip in counselling after I finished playing tennis, and I worked with at-risk kids in a youth health service. So I think achieving and overcoming obstacles as well helped me help other people. And I'm currently doing peer support and community peer support with people that have had a spinal cord injury. So I feel that the sport that I played helps me help them as well in lots of different ways, and not just that they need to be an elite sports star, but that they can set a goal and they can have a very full and meaningful life. And also, I guess playing sport as well and being fit helped me have my child more easily, I guess, as well, because I've got a 7-year-old boy. And
lots of benefits.
I guess you can just go on, but
and now you're doing work with our great friends at Spinal Cord Injuries Australia, which you described, Branka, yes?
Oh, absolutely love being a peer support worker.
I can imagine. How about you, Danny? To Sarah's question about what success in the sport has allowed you to do, and of course you're still playing. For those of you who are in our community, we love you, we follow your career, but to those who are less aware, you're actually a table tennis player now, and you're the co-captain of the Australian Paralympic team, and of course heading to Tokyo to play table tennis next year. But what sport enabled you to do, and in terms of what you're passionate about, perhaps?
Thanks, Sarah, bloody legend. Thanks for that question. Look, sport's just been an incredible vehicle for so many things. Like, it's allowed me to meet myself, and there's nothing like that. You know, sport is extreme in that way. There's nowhere to hide. And particularly with an individual sport like tennis, you learn a lot about yourself, and you learn about the things that you care about, that you're passionate about, that there's room for improvement. And, you know, for me, I've always just kind of, it's opened so many doors, just being an athlete, and being an athlete with a disability has opened a lot of doors that I appreciate not too many people get, like even being able to have employment and, you know, just have all these kind of international experiences as a human have been really important. So they kind of, being an athlete opened doors, particularly in the fields that I was really interested in, mental health, worked in that system for a really long time, also within the juvenile justice system, and then went on to do my Chinese medicine degree. And both of those things, like those doors opened for someone with a disability because of sport. Like you kind of, it's all about how you adapt and how you work through all of those things and finding a way. And it might not happen tomorrow, but being able to kind of just persist and find ways through, and being able to communicate and educate people around lots of things. Sport's given me that platform to do that, and I've been really super grateful for it. And, you know, as you mentioned, like I've moved to another sport, which is hilarious because I've gone from tennis to table tennis, which is not the same, and it's really hard. And I've probably started 42 years too late. But you know, again, it just provides these really great opportunities to share with people. And certainly my role within Paralympics Australia in a welfare role as well allows all that learning, and then kind of being able to share that probably in a bit of a similar way to Branka with people who are going with experiences that, you know, maybe we can support. I'm really finding this really great new kind of journey where I'm actually almost come full circle working with athletes with disabilities in a welfare role as well as a bit of a mentorship role. But yeah, it's an incredible journey, and there's been a lot to be passionate and excited about.
A great question here from Leon Callahan, one of our mates from Mogo Wheelchairs, talks about any opponents who are always a grudge match. So this is good stuff. Who did you guys love to go head to head with? Branka, who comes to mind? I'll be interested to see if you've got the same answer to this, actually.
Well, no, the first thing I thought about Danni, and then I thought about Esther Viggy and how she just dominated and for such a long time. And I think for the top players, as Danni was, and she was a tough person. But whether that's a grudge match, I'll let Danni answer that or not. Yeah.
Thanks, Leon, and much love to Leon. You know, that's a really beautiful family that supported me throughout my whole life. You know, Mick, that they were actually my first wheelchair sponsor. You know, like it's a very, thank you so much, Leon, and much love to you and your family. But look, grudge matches. I mean, you know, not so much grudge. You know, I feel like grudge is a weird one because the competitive environment allows you to be a better person. Like for me, it was like going to battle with other warriors who would then help you be a better warrior. Like I never felt grudges against Esther. You know, for me, she always brought out the best in me. I brought out the best in her. There was definitely a period where I'd retired and she just went and did the most extraordinary stuff and then was unbeatable. So, but, you know, there are definitely people that I'm still really annoyed that I lost to, like definitely, and that still just irks me a little bit, even though it's still, you know, so long ago. But I don't know about, there were people that I really hated losing to and made a real effort to not lose to, whether you'd name them grudge matches and whether I would necessarily want to name names. But, you know, the Dutch mostly, like you just wanted to not lose against the Dutch. So I think if you could just like throw a whole nation under that bus, then not as in literally throw them under a bus, but in terms of like people that you didn't want to lose to, if they were Dutch, that was pretty much it.
Yeah, it was interesting. I just picking up on what you said there, Danni. I was listening to Kurt Fernley talk recently, and I think it was to Curtis McGrath, about this idea within the Paralympic family where effectively your job is to train the person who's going to beat you next. So that there's that wonderful sense of camaraderie, I think, that Kurt and Curtis were talking about, that I heard a little bit about what you were talking about there, Danni, in the sense that maybe grudge is not quite the right word in our sport, but it's about mutual respect and helping people be the best player they can be.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, I met Esther when she was 13, and there was a group of, young women kind of coming through at a similar time of her, and it was really clear that she had something really special. And at the time I was like 3 in the world. I was working on getting to number 1, but I knew I'd get to number 1, and then I knew that she would become number 1. So, I think that's it. You hope that you can elevate the game enough, and you hope that you can leave it a better place than you found it. So, yeah.
Well, that's good. We've got a great message there from Ben Weeks, which we're going to have to get rid of in a second because I just look like a set of eyebrows above this at the moment. But nonetheless, high legends, absolute champions, willing to give up their time and train with me and guide me through my career. Branka used to drive me to the courts at the old wheelchair sports and ride to have here every week when I was a teen. Grateful to have such great role models both on and off the court. We might take Ben's statement down because I can't see either of you, but thank you, Ben, and g'day to you, mate. Branka, what do you remember of Ben Weeks?
Oh, he was so shy, and just the sweetest young boy. And he was just always so polite and just absolutely lovely. And it was just wonderful to be able to hit with him and to see him. And then I retired, and then to see him just get better and better and stronger was just beautiful to watch and really exciting. But yeah, I just have a soft spot for Ben. He's just wonderful in lots of different ways, and he's very talented. He's a talented musician and just a beautiful, wonderful person. Yeah.
And he's given so much to us. Yeah, I mean, he's given, honestly, like Ben, I feel like I've been on the tour for so long with Benny, and in fact, he was there in one of my toughest days where I'd lost in the semi-finals in Athens, and it was my, what I thought was going to be my last Paralympic Games, and I lost to Sonia Peters, and if there's probably a grudge match, that's probably it. But, I lost that match in the semis, and I had no intention of, all I wanted was a gold medal, and definitely, losing that match and having to reset. It was actually Ben that kind of, while my team got around me, it was actually Ben that just sat with me the whole time and just reminded me of the big picture. And so I have a lot of gratitude to Ben. He's a good example of every single one of us bringing it forward, and he's bringing it forward at the moment. And it's always a real pleasure to watch him play.
He's amazing. And one of our most favourite rolling conversations we've had was with Ben, where he played a beautiful piano piece for us, which was the only song anyone's played, unless you guys want to sing a song. I mean, we've got a couple of minutes, so up to you if you want to jump in there. I'm not getting a lot of love for that.
No, what a shame my 7-year-old isn't here, because he is teaching himself to play the keyboard from an app. And it's so wonderful to watch and to listen, because I am not musically inclined whatsoever. So, but he's not here, so sorry.
What a shame. And that's a no from you, Danny, too? Yeah. No, thumbs down. Understood. We do only have a minute or so left. We could talk to you guys all night. We got a message from Janelle there saying that she's loving the interviews and the stories, and we are too. So, but before we go, Danny, just wanted to check in. Obviously, you're Melbourne-based. A lot of people are doing it very tough in Melbourne. How are you holding up? And our thoughts are with you. What's going on? How are you coping?
Oh, look, I'm super fortunate. I live in this beautiful house. Our life is really lovely. We just got the news that we're in lockdown now for another 6 weeks, which, is tough. But we're safe, and that's great. My thoughts are definitely with a ton of people who are in a lot more challenging situations right now. And again, like for me, the real thing is to reach out where you can and where you need, because this is going to be a bit of a long road, definitely for people in Vic. But I think broader, this is going to be a marathon of a year, and it's going to take a lot of effort from all of us to stay connected, just reach out, check in on people, reach out if you need, and just be, really mindful that while we're not on the same boat and it's not the same wave, that we are all facing different stuff. And so stay safe, people.
Yeah, indeed. Hey, Danny, and that's why we started Rolling Conversations. It was really about staying connected for our community. And it's lovely to see you two on the same screen together. Obviously, great partners in sport over such a long time, and we both love you. Within our community, we think the world of the two of you. So thank you for being a part of our conversation tonight. And
Thank you so much, Mick.
we're going to stay in touch with you both. but it's been a real thrill. So thanks for joining us on Rolling Conversations, and take care of yourself.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Mick, and great to see you, Branks. Love your work, sweetheart.
Love you. See you, sweetie.
All right.
Take care.
Night, everyone. We'll see you next week. Thank you.
Bye.